game that I had home banker. I think
we all did.
Home banker.
I think we all expected it to be I think we all expected it to be like quite a straightforward game, a match in which you would have said comfortably Liverpool, with the form they've been on, with what they're trying to achieve this season, they would have comfortably run away with it. But unfortunately, that's not how it panned out. I think it's interesting as well, looking at the game in general, just the fact that, first of all, we had the snow over the weekend.
Yep.
In the UK, and I think there was a lot of kind of pressure to have the game called off.
Yeah.
Like I remember there's even a funny clip of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher like pretending to push snowball. Neville throwing snow back onto the pitch, Carragher taking it off and back and forth, and it's just like, there was massive pressure to try and get the game to go ahead, because there was this belief, I think, understandably, around Liverpool that this was the game where Man United were there for the taking, and 3 points was definitely available to them. And unfortunately, that's not how it panned out at all.
No.
And that's the beauty of football. It never goes the way you expect, but it always gives you some entertainment.
Gives you something to talk about. They still got a game in hand though.
They do, and but then also it's a derby game.
Yes.
Against Everton. We haven't got a date for it yet. It's still to be rescheduled. But it's one of those ones where they have a game in hand, but you just never know how it's going to go.
None of it matters. Is it Goodison or Anfield?
Goodison.
Is it
last derby
at
home at the old Goodison before they moved to a new stadium. So a lot to play for. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. I think there's just been a lot of chat around Liverpool, a lot of chat around what's happening with our club. So we're going to start off with that. If you're new listening here, we're One Kick from Glory. My name's Clive. This is Matthew.
Yes.
We talk about football. We talk about our beautiful clubs, which is Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. Every now and again, we might refer to some other clubs. Man United gets a mention when we feel like it. But today, we're going to talk about that match between Man United, Liverpool at Anfield, a blockbuster game. Sky Sports were overhyping it beyond belief. They had everyone in attendance. They were expecting an absolute massacre. And instead, what we got was a tactical masterclass from Ruben Amorim. I think it's fair to say. Matthew, what was your thoughts on the match between Liverpool and Manchester United?
It did not go the way that I expected. On that day, I was working that day and was talking to someone who's a United fan. And even he seemed hell convinced that Man United were going to get walked absolutely all over with. They've had really poor results of late. Their form is very inconsistent. They're good 1 minute and then they're bad another. For every Man City away game, they might have a Bournemouth at home when they're absolutely terrible. And this game, it has to be said, it must be something about these away games of big matches. Let's not also forget, Craig's our soothsayer, where he probably would have said, this might be a game where something, even if Liverpool may have won, it wouldn't have been as straightforward. And this was anything but straightforward, because
I think he did call that Man United could do something in this match.
I think he did. And, lo and behold, there's something about it. And credit to him, they probably nearly could have won this game if it wasn't for, Liverpool doing what Liverpool do best and just like screw our win or something. But no, credit to Man United and credit to Amorim. He did really, really well. Ahmad, again, this young kid in those big games, really, really stepping up, doing the absolute business. It shows that the loss of Markus Rashford, there's rumours of him going off to Italy. They're clearly wanting to move forward and part ways. And Rashford needs to move over and regain that form that we know he can do. And Man United need to get back onto their path to glory, fix that stadium, fix the club, not only win games that are big. Yes, City was a great one. City was a fantastic one. And even this was arguably maybe even a little bit better, because no one expected you to do anything in this game. Because they lost to Bournemouth. Who else lose? The festive period wasn't kind to them.
No, it was
they
not
lost. They lost a couple of others, which is rich coming from me. But really, really good result for them. It makes the title race a little bit more interesting and proves that it shows that they're not running away from it. Granted, they still got their game in hand. But credit to Man United, and it rolls on to a nice big one for you in the FA Cup this weekend. So it was good.
Yes, over the festive period, they had a whole bunch of mixed results that almost makes you wonder, is this the real Man United or not? So they went into it in December, 4-0 win over Everton, 2-0 defeat at the Emirates to Arsenal, a 3-2 defeat away at home to Nottingham Forest. Then they beat Man City at the Etihad 2-1, and they lost 3-0 to Bournemouth at home the following game, lost 2-0 away at Wolves the next game, and then 2-0 at home to Newcastle the game after. And then they ended that run with a 2-2 draw against Liverpool. I mean, it couldn't have happened to a nicer team. Like, to turn things around. Because, I mean, to be honest, that is a very inconsistent run of matches. You know, and to have so many 2-0s or, 3-0s or 2-goal margin matches is quite a lot. I mean, the City game would have given them a lot of confidence because they really worked hard. And I think they had a brilliant last sort of 10 minutes where they turned that game on its head and managed to get the 3 points there. You would have thought they could have built momentum. Went to Bournemouth, Bournemouth came to their home and they didn't turn up.
No, Bournemouth did really well. Bournemouth came up, they had an absolute game plan and hit the ground running. And Bournemouth are that kind of, I say that they're that team to kind of watch out for. But truth be told, you've got quite a few of them in this current Premier League division right now. Fulham can do that. Bournemouth do that. Brighton do that. Forest are doing that and then some. These are sometimes the teams where sometimes they can just catch you on the burner on a random time, and you never really know when it's going to be. They beat you at their ground. They beat City. We barely got past them. These teams can make themselves really hard to beat when they want to be. So there's no. You don't really necessarily. It's a shock that they got beat by Bournemouth because they're a good team. They're just so damn inconsistent. You can't go and then beat City and get a really good draw against Liverpool to then lose against Bournemouth at home and then Wolves.
That's the problem. And I think there was a lot of good comments as well after the game. I think they asked Amarin how he felt about the result, and he wasn't really, happy to win, but didn't really get too carried away. Lisandro Martinez made some good comments saying that at the end of the day, and even Fernandes himself said that, like, this is what we need to be doing more. Like, we should be able to play this way against all teams. Like, it's clearly a lack of application or the mentality hasn't been right from the players. But throughout this match against Liverpool, it's one of the first games where I've looked at Man United and felt like the system that they've got, the 3-4-3, and the way how the players were applying themselves, I feel like they got something here.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked to see Bruno left wing.
Yeah, very.
In that system. I thought maybe they would, probably try Garnacho from the start. I actually thought Bruno should have been in midfield alongside Ugarte, but I think having him in that sort of freer role, where he had the structure of having to defend and help out Dalot, but then also Dalot playing a wing back, like really, really advanced wing back. I think it just created overloads. And then, of course, Bruno's passing I think Bruno, that's probably one of the best performances I've seen from him. And I know that he said when he was younger, he really liked Iniesta. That's a player that he modeled his game off. And I think this is probably one of the first games where I can say that's definitely the case.
I can see the resemblance. He's never played on the wing before, has he? Because remember when he started, he kind of hit the ground running quite well when he came first game to United. I think, I'm not saying there were talks of a title, but he slotted in really well, really quickly, because I think they got someone else alongside. Because he came in January. He came in January transfer window and he hit the ground running. And then ever since, I don't know, then there was a beef with Ronaldo and the manager situation, the manager's chopping and changing all the time. And, it's just kind of, now he's been made a captain, then he's had disciplinary problems. But this was a game where it's just like, this is the player where it's like, this is the player I think they want him and they claim to be. They big him up so much. Because he clearly is a very good player in there. I think it just needs to find finding a place that works really well for him. So, but he was impressive, very impressive this game.
And you can tell at times they would Liverpool definitely struggled a little bit to deal with the movement from the midfielders because they were moving as a unit quite well with Ugarte and Mainu providing that platform just behind. You had Højlund, who did quite well, I think, in his hold-up play up front. I think there's been a lot of criticism around his first touch and his control. I think that's one of the few games when I thought he held it up really well. He did a very good job of just kind of creating at least a platform for his team to build around. I think his movement in the box was not great, and that's something I think he needs to work on a lot. But I think in terms of the basic side of just keeping the ball, helping us get out the pitch, just being a bit of giving Van Dijk and Konate something to think about.
Like his hold-up plays.
Yeah, it was much better.
Yeah, no, he will be looked at a lot more if Rashford is to go now. If not, maybe in the summer. I don't see him going now. He will. His contract's not. He doesn't expire in the summer, does it? Konate?
No, he's got a couple of years.
He's got a couple of years left. So, regardless of the form that he is in as Rashford, his fee, there will be a fee there for somebody to pay. But they're looking at someone like him because I guess they brought him in. Look, he's younger. He can clearly do it because he's done it on multiple occasions. He just needs to work on his fitness. He gets injured quite a lot. And again, there's the pressure there where it's like, oh, they got their Scandinavian striker at Man City. They got their Scandinavian striker right here. And he needs to find that kind of way to slot himself into Manchester United team and find that form that he knows and they know that they want and he can have. And I think he could do some real damage if he can just add to that hold that play he does so well. He could start, getting that 10 to 15 goals that they really need, because they don't have necessarily a proper recognize. I know they got Ahmad, who's stepping up really well, but you can't be relying on these kids all the time, man.
I mean, Hodgson himself is also young.
He's very young.
I think the goals is a big issue, but I think one of the things he needs to definitely work on is his movement in the box, because there was a few times when Man United would break down the left. I think there was one chance where it came to Bruno and he went to cut it back, and then the space was there more the penalty box side, which would have meant Hodgson to run towards the inside of Van Dijk, so in between Van Dijk and Konate, to run that side. But he ran the other side, which was in between Van Dijk and Robertson. And the problem is, to get the ball to him there, that pass needs to be out of this world.
Perfect.
And pinpoint accurate, because if it's a little bit to the left, it's to the goalkeeper, to the right, it's cleared. And I think that chance got broke down because it got cleared away by Van Dijk. And I remember at the time, I think it was Dalot told him, look, you need to run inside. Another moment, a similar thing, Martinez was making a run from the back, tried to spoon the ball through to him, move broke down, and he was telling him, look, you need to be this side of the defender. Where you are, like, with all due respect, you're kind of hiding.
Yeah.
He's not hiding, but you're not going to get the ball there.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah,
so you need to just come a bit more the other side. So I think that's the thing he needs to work on. But I definitely think Man United should be very pleased with the result. Some two really well taken goals. I mean, Martinez's goal, that's the kind of strike that makes you sit there and think, okay, I can see why, for example, Arsenal wanted to play left back.
Yeah.
You can hit a ball like that.
Oof.
Definitely
Sweet.
do a lot more.
Sweet goal. Very good.
But again, the two goals that came, and I'm going to talk about the man of the hour for all the wrong reasons going into that match, they all came down Trent's side. And there has been so much talk about him this past week and a bit, just because of the Real Madrid interest, the contract situation, Madrid even bidding this week for him, which got rejected by Liverpool.
Cheeky.
Reports coming out of Spain that they might already have the contract agreed, and the previous match, you had Trent celebration where he was doing the whole, you guys are talking too much gesture to the camera, and I'm kind of a bit torn in terms of his performance, because I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans come out and say that clearly his head wasn't there and it's been affected by the talk from Real Madrid and the bid and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, there's a part of me that feels like, could it also be he just had an off day? Because players have an off day, and it is possible. The other option that I also feel a little bit inclined to is that, could it also be the fact that his own fans were booing him pre-match and throughout the game? And for him as a player who probably never received that from his own club, did that cause him to just be a bit off the boil? Because, I mean, there was a moment he gave the ball away quite a bit. Yeah. There's one chance where he gave the ball away for the equaliser, actually, and it just doesn't run back. Bruno runs off him and gets a free in the box, and that's his guy. And the goal comes from it. So what's your thoughts on Trent Alexander-Arnold and just where his head, what happened to him at the weekend? I
mean, there's a lot riding on a guy that's still very young at the end of the day. Like Liverpool at the end of the day, they have that ride for success. They've been the success picture, I think, ever since Klopp kind of introduced him onto the scene, and he didn't exactly, I'm not going to say that he necessarily exploded, but he established himself fairly evenly over time to eventually become the Premier League's, probably yet the Premier League's best right back, and definitely one of the world's best right backs as well. With him, and I think with Real Madrid, of a club like Real Madrid, when they come and knocking, it's not something that you ignore. You don't ignore Real Madrid for very long, because if you ignore them now, they'll just come back again later, because they know they have a certain pool that even some international countries don't have.
We saw it with Mbappe. Look how long they kept trying, and eventually he just said, "Okay, I'm going there."
And then they got their man. And even if it doesn't necessarily work, a lot of players go there, it don't work for them. Michael Owen, it didn't work. Thomas Gravison, it didn't work. Jonathan Woodgate, it didn't work. It only took him about 20 minutes to figure that out.
Yep.
Who else for it? It didn't. A lot of players, enough players out there. It didn't. Eden Hazard, for all the dream working under Zidane didn't work, was a fraction, a shadow of the player he was at Chelsea. Grant, we got the best out of him. By the time he got there, he was just a player that just happened to be there. It doesn't always work. But again, even still then, you don't ignore a club like Real Madrid. The managers, Spanish managers, would rather do Madrid over the Spanish national job. No, it's just that you don't want to hold them and have them at the pedestal, but they are just there. They are just there. They're not like just a football club. It's a lifestyle. They are a lifestyle. They're a brand. They're a force. And at the moment right now, I can't remember who I was talking about this one with someone, but they are building something right now. This is Galactico's Mark 3.0 or something. They've already got the talisman in Mbappe. Once he finds this form that they know that he can have, those PSG days, unstoppable. And they've still got their favourites in there in Vinny Jr. They got Rudiger still there as well.
Got Bellingham, you got Valverde.
Bellingham, Valverde,
Camavinga.
Who's the other young guy who went there?
The Gula, Turkish guy.
And was it Endrick?
Endrick as well, yeah.
Endrick there, and you slot in Trent in there. You got a team that's probably going to be winning everything all the time for the next how many years? You know, the talent's there. The Galactico status is there, but the talent is also there. And I just think that he knows that as a player, and I think Liverpool know that because they've had a history with their players going to Real Madrid in the past, and it's a case of like, it will hurt more if he goes because he's a homegrown boy. If Salah goes, it will hurt, but he never started there. If Virgil goes, again, it won't hurt as much because, you know, he's going to eventually start seeing out his years eventually. If he doesn't retire there, he'll go somewhere else. With Trent, you know, your homegrown talent, you never like selling your homegrown talent, especially to a big, massive rival that you've competed over the last few years. So that's going to be hurting them. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans are just frustrated at the fact that for as good as it's going right now, they're feeling that pinch of, you know, transition. They've already had the manager go. Next thing you know, your main guys are going. And little by little, year by year, Firmino gone, Wijnaldum gone, Mane gone. Now Salah, Trent, and Virgil
up in the air
are next, and it's going to be if Man City are going for a transition, it's their turn next. Some of these players have been here since 2017. That's 8 years of performing at that peak level. Eventually, they're going to want to move on and change something up. So maybe it's part of it. I mean, I don't think they don't hate Trent. Obviously, they don't hate Trent, but I think
some do. Some do now. I mean, I think it's tough though because, on the one hand, it's not the first time they've had players leave. I know, obviously, we saw what happened with Steven Gerrard when he was, he was very close to coming to Chelsea.
Very close.
And then a lot of things happened in the background, and there was some threats made and stuff. And in the end, he didn't end up going.
Yeah.
You can argue that whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I think it depends how you look at it. I think on the one hand, I think he did miss out on winning Premier League trophies by not making the move. I think he should have won one at Liverpool. We all know what happened in that season. But on the other side, he won the Champions League again. So it's like he managed to do something at his boyhood club, which was cements his legend status. I think the big question is how, if Trent is going to leave, because we still don't know. I know that it looks like, with all the talk of everything that's happening, it looks like he's on his way out. What is the best way to leave a club? Because it does feel like, does he need to come and make a statement? What do you think was the best way for them to manage this if he's going to move on and leave Liverpool?
He needs to have the next game and just have that massive consistency he's had, because it hurts more against Man United because it is Man United. They're your big main rivals, and you don't want to be switched off against Man United because the last thing you want is that bragging rights. That's why the build-up was so big. It's the biggest game in English in the Premier League. It's the biggest game in English football. And to have an off day against Man United. And you saw a lot of the players, the Liverpool players, they care about this game. The way that Trent was looking at him after one of the goals, you see that he felt that frustration.
And Van Dijk had that stare at him.
Yeah, that I felt that stare through to here. It hurts. Even though he's not from the city, it hurts. Because he's established himself as part of the city. So it's always it will hurt. But nothing says more than, because they played Man United twice now, it's done. Yeah. Nothing says more than if he went out on a high and won them, say, the Premier League, or go out and win the Champions League or something, and just putting in like player or right back of the year performances from here on in, and be like, and maybe say something. Maybe come to a case where it's like, you find that when you have a player that good and they're open and honest, a lot more people will appreciate it because you know what, fair enough. This is what he wants. He's given us a really good time. You know, he's clearly got some ambitions saying he's always wants to do this or that. Real Madrid come and knock in. I'm not happy about it, but I understand it. Like how with, and he wasn't a homegrown boy, but Hazard at Chelsea when he left to go to Real Madrid, he gave us his reasons. He's like, he's taken this club or his team as far as he can take it on his back for how many years since he's been there. You know, he's going out, he left on the high, he got us Champions League qualification, he won us the Europa League final in Baku. He left on the high, he said his thing. We all knew it was the end. There was no animosity because there was an understanding. So yes, he got us the trophy and then the good finish in the table. But I think also communicating with the fans and being like, look, especially in the era we're in of social media and people finding out things very, very quickly, people like having that communication and almost being made to feel that we are, and it's a wrong way of looking at this, because I don't think it's true, that they're a part of us.
Yeah, but you need that though, because
they're a part of us.
And he's been in the academy. He's been a fan. He's been a mascot. He understands what it means to play Liverpool. He understands what it means to wear that shirt, to play at Anfield, to play against Man United. I think, and I'm just thinking back to what we were talking with Mark about it in the group, and he was saying how it's like the worst he's seen Trent play, and it looks like his head's been turned. He's not really there, and I think that's the saddest thing about it because. Like we were saying about, you know, there's been lots of rumors online about him and Van Dijk had a bit of a bust up in the dressing room. Who really knows if that's true or not? But you could see on the pitch that Virgil was not happy with him. There was quite a few times when he was glaring at him, shouted at him. Like, I think for me, it's you can have bad games. You can be off form.
Of course.
We all know defensively sometimes Trent can be got at. It's not a new thing. It's not like we're surprised by that. I think the issue was his offensive passing was really diabolical.
Yeah.
And the worst we've seen him play in a long time. But the main thing is your effort. When you're having a bad game, the least you can do is at least run a bit.
Is try.
At least track back. He gave the ball away, and he's just like I said. He let Virgil. No, I think Mr. Martinez is the one that he let Bruno walk off him for one of the goals, and let Martinez walk off him. Hello, we're doing a job here. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, we're trying to win it. We want to establish ourselves at the top of the Premier League table, even more so because we win this game, we win the derby. We're 9 points ahead, or 11 points? No, so
it'll be 9. If they'd won that and then won the derby, it would be 11.
They're 11 points ahead.
12 because they're 6 points ahead right now.
Yeah, a proper commanding lead. And at least then, you know, show even if you run back, even if you don't necessarily get him, that's you showing that you're trying. But you having that thing of going, and I think where a lot of people, where Real Madrid get that attention, it's almost as if like, well, my body's in Manchester, but my brain's in Madrid. My brain is, you know, we don't know. We don't know these things. It's only January transfer window has only just opened. Before you know, by the time it comes to like April, May, the talk will be even louder. You know, might even find out before then. We found out beforehand that Klopp was leaving was leaving. Is the Trent going to be the same thing? I don't know.
I think it's a tricky one. So I feel like on the one hand, I think prior to this match, I would have probably said, you don't necessarily need to announce anything until you're really sure and you're ready. But the way he performed, if a pre-contract has been agreed and he's happier to make that move, I think they need to manage it right. So I'm curious about his next performance for Liverpool in the league.
Yes.
If it's going to be another performance like this. If he has 2 stinkers in a row, then I'm like all for the conversations. I have no hat in the race. I'm not a Liverpool fan, so it doesn't matter really what I think about giving him allowances. But I can understand having one bad game.
Yeah,
I can get it. And in my head, I'm like, it might have just been one bad game, rather than it being the sign that he is on the plane. He's already got his flat picked out in Madrid. He knows where he's going to be eating dinner. I don't know if it's that bad, but it didn't look good. However, we can definitely talk about his other compatriot of the 3 that are under consideration for new contracts in Mo Salah. Another game, another goal. He was quiet most of the match. I think Man United did a very good job of keeping him very quiet.
Very busy, yeah.
But when you get an opportunity,
which he does.
But let's talk about the moment that led to it, the handball. What's your views on it? Given against De Ligt. Ball crossed in and then, you know, went to block it, hand was up. Given as a handball. VAR can, VAR review and given.
VAR's had a lot of talk about it this weekend, and not necessarily for the better. I understand it, but again, the lines of the whole thing of handball are so kind of blurred nowadays. You just don't.
Just don't really know where
I don't really know. I'd understand if it wasn't given. I don't understand if it was. But I just think that the caliber, because it was 1-1 at the time, wasn't it? It was still 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1 at the time.
It was still 1-1 at the time. So it's still high stakes. Not kind of like going forward. It's not necessarily he's under any pressure, or maybe it's home pressure for Michael Oliver. He couldn't handle it, but because there was a similar thing yesterday, the QPR game I was at, where their second goal, the ball there's no intention of him handing it. It just so happened to hit his hand, where you're accounting for natural things like that, where he has no intention to actually handball the ball. It just so happened to hit his hand. And with the De Ligt one, it's kind of thing where it's like his hand just happens to be up.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, because it's all about like kind of proof of intent. Was it intentional? Was it accidental? But I mean, it's handball in the box. It's from the rules we have for this season.
Yeah,
it's a penalty.
And that's kind of where I'm maybe leaning a little bit more towards that, because it's in the box. It's in the box. I'll get more of it. It's a goal scoring opportunity. Fine. It's just the fact that it's what's accidental on thing anymore. It's like you're sometimes you're penalising players being in that natural position, and it's just like it just seems really, really weird. But I get it. I just don't necessarily understand it.
That's the big thing. But again, it was dispatched really well by Salah. I think Onana was so close to saving it. You could, I think some Man United fans feel like he probably should have saved it.
Yeah.
But this is the best player in the league.
Yes.
Doing what he does best.
Yes, it is.
And if it is his last season at Liverpool, I think this is the best way to end it.
He's going
by firing them to the title. And I think at this point in time, you can't say it's not deserved.
He's going out on a high. He's going out. He's showing. Whenever they need him, he shows up. You can't take that away from him. Whenever you need him, you can go online. A lot of people saying like he's a good stat merchant and things like that, but you do that by turning up for your club, which he does every single time that he needs him, which explains why they've only lost one game this entire season. They could have very easily, not easily, they're on the risk of losing this game on Sunday, but they didn't. Because luckily their goal, him banking that goal, makes all the difference. So credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I think this is the right way to go out. Like I said, I think his performances are very important. The fact that he is still performing, even with all this uncertainty. Even, Liverpool took a long time to even sit down with him to talk about his new contract, and it seems like negotiations aren't really going that well. But it doesn't seem to be affecting him, which clearly, as we've seen with Trent in this one match, it's not the case. Again, we'll see. We'll see after the next match if Trent is still playing badly. But I think Salah is showing how it should be done. I think Virgil is showing how it should be done. I think maybe 2 out of the 3 will stay. Maybe.
Yeah, I think they're
definitely going to keep one of them.
Definitely.
But I think possibly 2.
I mean,
so we did talk about the other day, which 2 would you keep? I think everyone's arguments is a bit different. I definitely felt Trent needed to stay, and I felt Salah because of his output. If it was those 2, I know they've got Conor Bradley, who's really good. Virgil is imperious, but I think, and it'll be very difficult to replace. But there are players you could probably bring in and have like a bumpy run at it. I mean, look, I'm not a Liverpool fan. If I was Liverpool, do you know who I'd try to get in if Van Dijk's not going to stay?
Go on then.
I'd go to Arsenal and try to buy Saliba.
Not.
I'm saying this as an Arsenal fan. Like, don't even try it. But if you're a big team and you've just won the Premier League and Van Dijk's going to be let go,
you've got that.
That's the first thing I would do.
You've got that pull.
I'll call this and say, look, we want you to come to replace Van Dijk. We're going to give you massive wages.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do.
And we're going to win. You're going to win leagues in this.
I don't know if you'd go, but that's what I'll try.
What if Madrid go there first? What if Madrid gets
Madrid
first?
are sniffing around. I don't know when they're going to make their move, but eventually we might have 2 more years of Saliba, and then Madrid will come knocking again.
They're
always there in the background lurking.
They never stop.
But if I'm Liverpool and you're not sure about keeping Van Dijk on for another year, that's what I would do.
See, I would actually keep Salah and Van Dijk. I'll keep them. I think if I'm looking at it as slot as a business opportunity and to establish himself on the club, if I'm looking at it from a business perspective, And let's say this is the start of something. Let's say if Trent has 4 games like he had against United, 4, because the next one's a tough one. It's Forest away. Forest are firing right now. I'm like, okay, clearly I'm going to need to do something. I need to be proactive in this situation and try and play. Not necessarily a like, but a player that I think that could go on and take that helm and help compete for that spot. Plus, if I'm looking at it as a lucrative business opportunity, I'll get way more from him than I would from unless someone like a Saudi club comes in for him. I know I'm going to get the most cash from him, especially if I sell him abroad, especially. Or even better still, be cheeky. No, he wouldn't. He'd never go to another Premier League club. He'd never go to a Premier League club. He's going abroad. Obviously, he's going abroad, and Real Madrid will pay. So yeah, I think I'll be sad to see him go because he's a homeboy. But at the same time, if he wants to go, he wants to go.
And that's the thing. You don't want to keep a player against the wall. We've seen it when players stay a bit longer than they should for our clubs, and it doesn't really work out. They end up not performing, and it's just a waste. But speaking of not performing, like I said, there's a weekend of draws. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, all 3 of us drawing, but we didn't really want to or need to. Let's talk about your draw at Crystal Palace.
Definitely not.
Strange game.
Weird game.
Scored early.
Good goal.
Great piece of skill from Sancho on the wing.
Wicked goal.
I feel like the Dortmund Sancho is coming back to us. And Cole Palmer doing what Cole Palmer does best. Composure, coolness, and slots it. And then after that, not really being clinical with the chances you were creating.
And that's been the last 4 games. That has been the last 4 games. Everton, I can understand. I can get Everton. You're going to go to a Sean Dyche winter special. Nobody's scoring. Gaz from Geordie Shaw ain't scoring there. he ain't scoring. Ain't no one scoring there. I find it on the touch on Everton. Yeah, I find it mad that he's jobs up for thing. Like he's kept them safe how many times? Like give the guy at least a season. If he keeps you up, which I think he will. Give the guy a season in the stadium, man. He's keeping you up. Man.
That's a fair argument.
Give him
at least 1 year.
Give him at least 1 year.
Maybe they've got their eye on someone that they think's attainable, like, say, for example, Graham Potter, who they feel like with a new stadium, with more backing, they want to play a different style of football. Maybe they feel like that's an angle they want to go down. Because, Everton over the years, they've always kind of flickered between, I guess, being very, like, when you think about the Moyes days, kind of very good defensively, difficult to play against.
Very difficult.
Had some wonderful games, but largely just a very difficult team to beat. Then you go to the Martinez era, and that was very attractive football. Got them into Europe, looking like a team that could really push on, push on. And then they've just kind of wobbled away from that, and then tried to go back there with people like was it De Boer they had?
Yep.
5-game run. Koeman they had as well. Ancelotti. Strangest one of them all because he was just there for a good time, not a long time.
Didn't Rafa go there? I think
Rafa Benitez as well.
Crossing that boundary.
So I just think it's just they've tried it a lot, and they've got Sean Dyche, who I think he does a good job.
He does.
I think it's weird that they have the stat they were talking about the other day about how they're the lowest scoring team from outfield open play goals. They're the lowest in the league by far. And it's like, okay, but they have their way of scoring.
Yeah.
I just think the problem they have is that they have always had that one striker over the years that's gotten them the goals. You think back to Duncan Ferguson days. You think back to Kevin Campbell days.
Yep.
You think back to when they used to have coming in off the wing, Radzinski.
Yes.
You think about when they had Cahill on the number 10,
Cahill,
Lukaku,
Nikita Jelavic, all
right
them
now,
guys. Yeah.
who have they got? It should be Calvert-Lewin, but it's not that guy.
I think the top scorer is like Decore.
Yeah.
Who's a defensive mid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Weird.
So it's just a strange one. But yeah, like more on a topic for you guys, like we always knew it's going to be an up and down season, but like how do you really sum up your draw against Palace?
Yeah, I sum it up like the way I sum up the defeat to Fulham as anyway it just didn't need to happen. Like we had the control very much in the first half, and I think we soaked up and allowed that pressure to get them back in the game, and they just keep on. Because I was listening to it on the radio, and we were dominating as we do it in the first half, and things just plugging away, and then eventually we don't really do much more of it. We don't do what we normally do: is keep going forward, and score again. No, at least make those attempts. Plus, Jackson didn't have a very good game. Really, really good finishes, getting in the right spots, but just not finding the goal. And sometimes it's a case of where if Cole Palmer ain't doing it, if Jackson ain't doing it, then who else? necessarily he's doing it. Plus with team selections, Enzo's he's got a bit of a Christmas hangover in this one, real proper Christmas hangover. And I just think it's just a bit of a, I don't know. We've had a tough few games. Brentford was tough, even though we won, and then Everton was tough, and then obviously with Fulham and Ipswich was poor. Ipswich was just poor, absolutely awful, dreadful game. Just nothing went right on that night, and credit where credit is due. They deserved their win. I'm happy they got their win. I'm happy you got your win, Ipswich. Just not against. The deal was not against us. That's not the deal. But
a conversation was had. They didn't want to listen to you guys
exactly. But no, I just think the team's like. I mean, but to be fair, we turned up with the wrong team that day. We turned up with a weaker team. I look at them thinking, I can't help but think this is a bad idea because they're playing at home. If we were playing at if we were at the Bridge, that's different. But we weren't at the Bridge, so but. Not ideal, not. I'm not overly worried. We're still very much in the top four. Still got a few good grace. I just think we need to improve on our team selections. Some of our and those players that do step in. This is what the case where so many players we chop and change all the time. Is where it's like there's a reason why you don't play in Premier League games all the time. Is where not saying that you're not good enough, but it's still a competitive place where you're not in the right space of mind. So, I mean, we'll got FA Cup. Get some confidence building after that. We got Bournemouth, which will be a tough game anyway. So we're just got to get back to winning ways and just yeah. We'll be all right. We'll be fine. It just need to get over this Christmas hangover.
That's the key thing. Speaking of Palace, who you played obviously on their ground, they're in 15th right now on 21 points after 20 games played. Do you think they could go on like a mini run now and push themselves back up the table? Because I really look at Palace and I often feel that they have had some incredible players over the year, but they've never really been able to build on momentum to take them to that top 10 and top 8, then top 7, then top 6. Like that's that kind of progression that you're seeing with Bournemouth, you're seeing with Forest, who we'll talk about shortly, and Villa. And I guess Brighton as well, and Brentford, they've all had those little runs. They've not had that yet. And I feel for them because oftentimes, obviously we knocked them out in the Carabao Cup. It's Arsenal in the last round, and that would have been a great tournament for them to get to semi-final and maybe push on to win it. They've got to look to the FA Cup now, see if they can go on a run there. But I do feel that they need to start looking up the table now.
Yeah.
And really start making a run. But what do you think they could do now going forward? Because they're 2 behind West Ham and Man United above them.
They've got the team to do it. They've actually got a pretty good team. I mean, Dean Henderson's a good keeper. He helped out at Forest, and there was a massive up at Sheffield United when they first got promoted back in 2019. They finished in the top 10 with. I think they were unbeaten at home. They were unbeaten at home for the whole entire season, which really. And then when he left, they got relegated.
Yeah.
So, up and they got good guys up front. Mateta, Eddie Nketiah is at the club where he needs to be.
Got Ismail Assar.
Eze. They got like Will Hughes. They got some exciting young players. They just need to translate that excitement onto some wins. And actually get some really good goals because they got the players. Ayew's not there anymore. He went to Leicester, didn't he? Yeah, he went to Leicester. They are a good start-up team in like a talent foundry where they can start working with the young players around in that area. Like I said, they have that South London energy about them. South London energy. They're like the juniors. Like how Arsenal in North London have the energy about them.
Yeah.
Arsenal Crystal Palace like the junior version of that. They got something about them,
Culture club.
Culture club. They are a culture club, and they're a Premier League mainstay. They haven't been relegated they've been promoted ever since they got promoted. They've stayed there pretty much, and they look around thinking, and the way that football has changed, the way the Premier League has changed. In how more managers are more well-travelled, more ideas spread to the point that where you are finding teams like your Forest, your Villas, your Fulhams, your Brightons, your Brentfords, where they don't just have to settle for that kind of standard football, that standard meat and pie football. You can have chili jam with your things. You have sriracha sauce with your things. These ideas can go around and travel and go along, and you can make, even if you're not necessarily fighting up, going up to the table all the time and getting to Europe and this and that, you can run it really, really well. Those kind of clubs are so attractive. Those clubs I mentioned earlier, particularly Brighton. I want to focus on Brighton mainly because they're rivals And since they come to the Premier League, they've only gone up since.
It's very true.
They've only gone up since. From when
Very, very true.
when they were relegation favourites for the first 1 or 2 seasons. They came up with Chris Houghton, did well, and they moved on to Graham Potter. Then they moved on to De Zerbi. Then they moved. I can't remember who they were.
Fabian Herzler.
They moved on to him now, where they're still kind of at that point where they're not in Europe, but they're on the teetering spot, and they're on that proper safe spot in the Premier League where they ain't got to worry about relegation. Plus, the way they run their club, they buy their players on the absolute cheap. I mean, like Caicedo, for example, bought him on the absolute cheap, sold him for 105 million. Same thing with Trossard. Same thing with McAllister. Same thing with what's his name? Basuma as well. They buy a lot of these players, but they also take in. They don't just take in players like they take leftovers, not rejects, leftovers, like your James Milners, like your Lallanas, like your Danny Welbeck's, players with a point to prove still, players
and Premier
that
League
can,
experience,
and Premier
they supplement
League,
them
yes.
with the young, talented players they picked up from around the globe who are still learning the game, and
Exactly.
those players can guide them through.
Exactly that. They got players that still want to play. Danny Welbeck still wants to play. It wasn't like what QPR did when they got all those pros in that wanted to chase a paycheck, and we're done with it. Damn, no, these guys still want. They might not be fighting for England spots, but they want to play. So, Crystal Palace, I look at them, again, a culture club, a club that you can really work with in the community, in the area, and maybe establish, like how you guys have a little thing with your shirt. And a lot of clubs are jumping on that whole thing, making their football a bit more fashionable. Great with Adidas, being your sponsor, Adidas, they're doing really well with that. They've done beautifully with that. Chelsea are trying it with the whole black and pink thing. Liverpool might try it there. United trying it again with Adidas here. Who's to say with Crystal Palace it can't be done?
Sure.
You've got the culture to do it. You've got the vibes to do it. And people talk about that South London energy. Run with it. Work with it. Make it like the talent foundry that we know what it is. Historically, they've provided like lots of talent over the years. Elise recently going over to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Where'd you get Ian Wright from?
Crystal Palace.
Exactly that. And now look at him. He's part of the culture. He's part of the fold. Uncle Ian, they call him. So maybe they need to look back and actually maybe it's just a case of looking in and be like, we can do more with what we've got, which can then translate onto the pitch.
Yeah, because I feel because I think
more.
with Glasgow, definitely there were a lot of excitement ending last season. They're going to kind of kick on this year. Obviously, losing the players they've lost, Anderson, Elise, and Ayew, big losses because they've all contributed a lot. They've had a lot of injuries as well this year.
A lot of injuries.
A lot of key players being out. Adam Wharton being out for a while. Czech Decore not coming back to his best form yet. He's been in and out of injuries as well. He signed Eddie, but he's not hit the ground running yet.
Yep.
Mateta had a bit of a slow start as well. Eze had a slow start this season. So they've not, and then their new central partnership have not really been able to gel properly. So I do feel for them because they've had obviously a lot of noise around Guehi as well in the summer about whether he's going to stay or go, what's going to happen. So they've been very, very disrupted. And I'm hoping that now that they've kind of gotten through that period of disruption, they can get on players back. Wharton's, I think, if he's not back, he's almost back. Then they can now start playing. Start building and heading up.
And January
is here, so let's see if they can bring in some smart signings to just give them that extra bit. Ismaila Sarr looks like he's settled now, so let's see if he can keep firing. But I do want to talk about, as our final topic for today, the team of the hour. Of course, I'm referring to Nottingham Forest.
Wow.
3-0 win. Morgan Gibbs-White again at his old club. Nuno again at his old club. I just think that's what football's about, isn't it? It's the beauty of football.
Beauty of it, man.
And I think for Nottingham Forest, and this is a club that have won European trophies. They are a massive club. They've won the old First Division, which has now become the Premier League. They know what it means to be successful. They have that in their history. Could this be another great year for them?
There's no reason why it couldn't be. They're in a conversation. They're above us. They're only behind you on goal difference. Which means they're also only 6 points behind Liverpool. But I was on my way back from watching QPR, and I was listening at the same time to their game, and it just shows you just what's happened around Nottingham Forest in the last. Because this is their third season. It's their third season now. Yeah, it's their third season. And this what's happened. Steve Cooper doing really well getting them there, but maybe not being able to push on and take them further. But and we know this of Nuno when he was at Wolves. Granted, he didn't get into this level, but he had Wolves competitive. when they first broke on the scene getting promoted, because they took the mick out of the Championship, and when they got promoted to the Premier League, they were a very, very fresh on the scene. It was a very fresh approach to how he kind of picked from that market, and he made them very hard to beat. Very hard to beat. And I think they got to Europe, I think, in the first season. Finished, and they got Europe like once or twice. And over the time, again, they've been a bit of a talent foundry. A lot of their players, Neto, Moutinho, Rui Patricio, Ruben Neves,
Moutinho, but I think Moutinho.
But yeah, a lot of and great players. And now bringing that kind of thing over to Forest, because they were tipped for relegation. Now look at them, they're what? Nearly could be second in the league.
In fact, criticised 2 years ago for a number of signings they made in the summer, because something like we've seen 8 to 10 players they brought in.
Yeah.
And look at them now.
But they've got a good bunch of players, and more than that, they've got a good bunch of players that want to work and want to play and are ready to go. Contrast to what Wolves, because when they were at home, were saying that the Wolves players look tired when they come on, they look dejected doing things. And even when they were 2-0 up last, because they were 2-0 up at the time, the players coming on for Nottingham Forest are raring to go, even at 2-0. So clearly there's been a massive change around the culture at the club where they have ambition, they want to play, they understand what the club is all about. Because again, they're not too dissimilar from, say, someone like a Brighton or even Aston Villa, where they got like the experienced guys there to kind of, show the young guns what it means to play for a big club, but also the youth there as well. Players with a point to prove, like Callum Hudson-Odoi, a point to prove after at Chelsea, where it didn't work out quite the way he wanted, and now he's found the points where he's able to fire his team up to second place. Combined with someone like Chris Wood, who spent most of his time at all these other clubs, a big old school striker. He's having a whale of a time. Really good player, and he's scoring the goals. He is scoring the goals every other game, 1-2 here, there. Where is he in the? How many goals? How many has he got this season? He's got a few.
Let me see if I can bring that up real quick. But yeah, I think he's been on a good run in terms of his goal scoring performances.
He's on a good run along with is it Walker Peters? No, not Walker Peters. It's someone else.
They've got so in terms of their goal scorers, they've got Elanga.
That's
been doing really well.
Yeah.
So yes, he's got 12 goals in the league. Morgan Gibbs-White 4, Elanga 3, Ola Aina 2, Hudson-Odoi 2.
So yeah, they're getting the goals. They're defensively, they're really hard to break down. They're the only team to beat Liverpool so far this year, and it's ironic because they play them next at the City ground. There's no reason to say why they can't
2 for 2.
Do 2 for 2. They're definitely in contention for Europe. And you know what? It'll be good to see after this year Villa in the Champions League. Who's to say that next year it won't be Nottingham Forest? It'll be really interesting to see what this squad is able to do, balancing Premier League and Champions League. Newcastle struggled, didn't get past the groups. Villa
They've done okay.
They've done all right. They're kind of teetering. They slowed down a little bit, but little by little, getting in little cheeky little results here and there. With Forest, I kind of hope that they can balance it. Let's say next year, if they're in the top 5 but doing really well in the Champions League, imagine European nights coming back to the City ground after 50 years. Shows you now, and it's only right in the way it's showing that new money Man City are struggling, but the old school's coming back. Villa back, Forest back.
We like it.
Football heritage.
It's on the return.
Is making a comeback. Let's appreciate it while we can.
Indeed. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the manager. I'm happy for the players. I like the fact that they are just showing that it can be done. You can invest smartly. You can give players like Hudson-Odoi a new lease of life in a new system. Elanga, who Man United thought wasn't good enough. I mean, you could argue that both those two players, if you went back to their previous clubs, would be starting.
Definitely.
Hudson-Odoi on the left for Chelsea and Elanga on the right for Man United. Definitely. Or on the left for Man United and Ahmad on the other side. So that there's a lot that could have been done, and Forest have done really well. I think the best thing they did as well is getting in their centre back, the new centre back they brought in, Milenkovic. I think he has just been an incredible signing.
Absolutely.
Murillo was good last season.
Yeah.
But Milenkovic is just something else. And you just feel like, I hope they can hold on to him for the long term. But you know that clubs are going to come circling for him come summer.
Circling around.
But he has been a brilliant. I think even Ryan Yates was on Sky the other day, and he was talking about how, like I said, Murillo was a brilliant defender for them last year, their player of the season.
Where did he come from?
Yeah.
Where was he from again?
Oh, Milenkovic. They got him from Italy, I believe. But then Milenkovic comes in, and then it's like the difference in terms of how he just how he prepares, the professionalism. And that's the thing that really sort of surprised them. Like just how he trained, how he prepares himself. And they got him from Fiorentina in the summer. And just how he is. He barely gets injured, and how he prepares before matches. Yeah. I think that's had a big rub of impact on Murillo. And so it's just been a good thing to see.
Where credit is due, man.
So we'll see what they do going forward, if they can maintain that, if they can keep building on it, and who knows if they can challenge Liverpool as we go. As for Arsenal, we drew. Controversial penalty given away.
Bizarre.
Never seen it before in my life. Great goal from Ranieri. Good penalty scored by Pedro. I mean, he scored a good penalty. It was a good shot to take. You can argue from the previous match, shouldn't have been on the pitch with that elbow thing he did.
Oh, yeah, that was... Ooh.
You can talk about the penalty. I don't know how a clash of heads is a penalty now in the box. When both players got the ball, I don't get it. I know we will not going to see that again this season at all. But there it is. I just also think Arsenal didn't do enough to win that match. We went 1-0 up, and then that was it, really. We just didn't really turn the screw. Even when they equalised, there was enough time, like at least 30 minutes left, to get back in, back in control of the match, and we never really stepped up. So, work for Arteta to do in the training ground, and also in the market, because we need to bring in bodies. Saka's out for months. Sterling's back on the bench in the Carabao Cup. He's currently playing as of recording. But we need more. We need more.
Isak.
When Yeri's injured, Isak, I don't think we can get done in January.
No.
I don't see Newcastle selling into us right now.
Cunha
is one I think we could push for. Let's talk about Nico Williams as well, but we need to do something.
He's a hothead. Cunha's a hothead. He's a hothead, but he gets things done.
He's a baller.
He is a baller, and just might be a little bit of flair. You might not that I want to help you guys, but if you want to solve your problems, he can do it. And he can score some cracking goals. Real cracking goals.
If there's a player you want that's going to bring in goals and creativity, he's a guy I'd definitely go for. If you're looking for just purely creativity and an interesting option, I literally would be knocking at Forrest store and bidding for Gibbs White. I'll do all I can to bring him. But yeah, we need to do something, because we can't keep the squad as it is and going into... we can't end January with no additions.
Yeah, Carabao.
It would be gross negligence, and I think it would cause our season to collapse. Because right now, it's not the worst season. I think what makes it look bad is the way we're playing in some matches is just a bit too slow and turgid. It's not lacking enthusiasm and energy. We're lacking ideas in our attack at times. The draws Liverpool had against Man United, and then not capitalising on it in the match before for us, I think that's the problem. I think there's been too many games that we just haven't really gone in for the kill against teams, and that needs to change.
Opportunity, man.
But we'll see. Obviously, we've got FA Cup coming up this weekend. As of recording, it's still 0-0 between Newcastle and Arsenal at the Emirates. The Carabao Cup semi-final first leg. Let's talk about some predictions for the next set of league matches. So we'll just focus purely... I don't know, let's go through them all. Brentford, Man City at the G-Tech Community Stadium.
2-1 Brentford.
2-1 Brentford. I can see Man City winning there. Chelsea, Bournemouth.
2-1 Chelsea. Bournemouth score first.
Agreed. West Ham, Fulham.
3-1 Fulham.
I think West Ham need to bounce back, but yeah, I can see them losing as well. Forest, Liverpool. I think I can see an upset on the cards there.
So can I.
But again, we'll see about that right back spot if Trent starts or not. But I think I can see Forest kind of doing maybe like a 1-0 or a 2-1.
A 1-0, another 1-0. Just
Salah
like
to get a goal,
yeah.
and then Wood to get one, and then maybe
Gibbs White.
Everton, Aston Villa.
I can see that being a draw, 2-2.
Palace. Yeah, I am going to back Everton to get one over Villa. They're at home. They need to get 3 points. They've got to wake up eventually. Leicester versus Crystal Palace.
Palace.
I'm going for
2-1.
Leicester.
2-1 Palace.
2-1 Palace, you say?
Yeah.
I think Leicester at home. Vardy's got something for them. I think he'll pull something off. Newcastle versus Wolves.
Sorry, Wolves. 3-0 Newcastle.
Damn. And then Yeah, I think Newcastle will win, but not 3-0. I think maybe like maybe 4-0. Arsenal Spurs. Wow. Northern Derby, yeah.
At the Emirates.
At the Emirates, yeah.
As out of ideas as you are, it's Spurs is Spurs. I didn't really poor, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 Arsenal.
And then last two, Ipswich versus Brighton.
From what I've learned, I think Ipswich could be an upset.
At home.
I think it'd be an upset.
I think that might be a draw. And then last but not least, Man United versus Southampton at Old Trafford.
I'm going to be brave. I'm going to go Southampton.
I think Man United will continue on their good run and get another 3 points. And that's that for this week. Lots of talk in the news, lots of things going on, but we'll see what will happen. We'll see what our teams will do. We'll see if Trent will announce if his departure, will his form pick up, will Salah sign, will Van Dijk sign? Will they all leave? Will they all stay? We're going to find out soon enough. See you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.